this is the computer where the gentleman brought everything in, couldn't get it posting, ended up he had dropped the CPU into the socket. Oh! There's a lot of bent pins. Oh, I think this one is... I think that's like straight broken, like non-fixable. See, it's broken right there. Well, homeboy needs a new motherboard. Well, we're starting over. Got a new motherboard, and we're gonna hope that everything works now. So he went from that Asus board that he had to this B650 board. All right, so let's go ahead and get this installed. One thing that I did notice when I took this apart originally is there was barely any screws holding this together. So we're gonna make sure we use the correct amount of screws. So we're going with the AORUS B650 Elite. See if we have any peels. I'm not seeing any peels. Let's get this lined up. We're gonna push all these cables out the back. And we're basically gonna pretend that the power supply isn't installed yet in either any of these cables. And do all this cable management right. We're gonna do this quickly. We're going to do it effectively. We're just gonna double check absolutely everything on this. So we're gonna, let's get this front glass off. Never actually worked in this case. It is, I believe this is an NZXT case. Yeah, it is. And make it just a little bit easier for me to work on in here. So this front glass is actually held on with, what, 8 screws? Take that off, set that to the side. Keep it easy to work on this stuff. So the way this is set up originally, because I know he didn't install these are all set up for intake. And then these are set up for exhaust. Not a bad layout. We just need to rearrange how these fans and stuff are set up on here. And we need to see if this came with washers and install the washers, seeing as this apparently guy didn't think it was important enough to install the washers or more than 2 screws to hold the whole radiator in. Like, I know I harp on it a lot on this channel, but like, if your radiator comes with washers, you have to use the washers. It isn't optional. The last thing you need is to be sitting there, you get a little bit of weird vibration and it just pulls through. But it looks like in this case this cooler did not come with washers, so no big deal. All right, one of the big things that I noticed with this when I was working on this is, let me see if I can slide this back a little bit and then make it so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. We're going to flip these fans around so that they are rear facing instead of front facing to hide the cables. I understand this wasn't like a priority for this gentleman, but it is a priority for me because I want this thing looking good. I want this thing performing good. Now, get both of these cables pointed towards the rear, and then we'll go ahead and mount this radiator back in there. We'll find the rest of the screws for this in the box, and then get this remounted back into the case. All right, let's go through here. These are the screws for this. See if I find the rest of them. All of the screws for this build were just thrown into a box and brought to me in no discernible order. All right, so gonna end up with thermal paste everywhere. Let's thread these guys back here. This rear panel open. I can actually thread these wires through. So that swings open. All right, now we're gonna go back to where he had this located, which he had this located all the way up front here. Just a little bit different. We're going to, this cooler did not come with washers, so we won't be using washers, but they did provide oversized headed screws, which kind of offsets the need for the washers in this case. And we're installing this cooler before we install the motherboard, because I feel like the way the motherboard is set up, in this case, we would have a problem actively reaching or getting this like set up.
Hey, thanks for checking out this video. If you like these videos, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. It really, really helps the channel.
Getting the motherboard installed. And then getting the cooler installed. I was not the one that actually put this build together. I'm up in the air on whether or not everything's going to be compatible. Hopefully it will be. Hopefully we're not running into any issues. This power supply is getting in my way. Let's go ahead and pull that out. And we'll also be able to make sure we have all the correct cables hooked up that we're going to need. Oh, it's got a little bracket. Okay. I was afraid this thing was just going to drop like a stone. All right. That's out of there. So now all we have is the case fan cables and one SATA cable. We'll pull that out of there for now so we don't break it. So as you can see on the back, we have the fans from the cooler, the rear case fan, and then the 3 fans that are over here. These are all the cables for them. So we got all that, plus the front I/O. So now let's go ahead and install. Put this panel back down. Let's go ahead and install the motherboard. But before we do that, we're going to put these screws back in that hold these guys in place. And then we'll take them out again once we have the motherboard installed and start working on a little bit of cable management. Let's give this a flip. Put that there. And that way. Go that way. Get everything lined up. Now, this is the actual difficult part, is going to be going through and finding the correct screws for these standoffs for this build. There's 2 types of screws that it could be. Let's try both of these and see if either of these actually thread into these standoffs. Alright, so I know what these, it's not the fine thread pitch. It's a more coarse thread pitch. Put these back in here. Got 8 screws. That should be, in theory, more than we actually need. Alright, pull out our CPU. Gently set in there, push it down, pop off the socket cover. All right, so let's temporarily, we want this like this. Let's rotate that around. I have to remember to put thermal paste on there because there is no thermal paste on there. But now we have this is the RGB. I'm assuming the pump's got to be in here on this. No. Ah, this is what I'm looking for. So we'll have to figure out to look up the manual and how this is supposed to be set up. But for now, we'll plug that in there. This will go to the RGB header. This is the 3, so it goes to this guy. All right, so let's look at this. I guess we're going to start by looking at this cooler first and foremost. I wonder if this panel is removable. This cooler does have quite a few screws on it. Yeah, perfect. Or, excuse me, quite a few wires on it. So let's figure out exactly what's going on here. So this is our RGB connector, which, okay, that's one way to do that. We're going to do that. Let me see if my little connectors that I have printed. Yeah, they fit. There's a little bit of play in them, but a little bit of double-sided tape will help that, or electrical tape. Yeah, so these are basically what these guys are, like reinforcements to hold these RGB cables together. This one actually looks like it's a bit big. Let's see, is this one the same size? I think it is. I don't know if I have any of my smaller ones left. I should print out a bunch of these. People buy these. So these ones won't work. So we're going the electrical tape route. Just to hold these guys together because we don't want them coming apart and losing this little connection here. Do that. And then we cut it. That's one. Now on the other side of this, we have this cable, which, let's route this cable now that I know exactly where this thing's gonna go. So we will route you down. Figure out where I'm gonna route that. And then the other RGB header, like that other end of that cable that we just taped together, come back through and go into this like so. And again, just a wee bit of tape. And then this side goes into the motherboard. And now that will get pulled back that way. And this plug right into the motherboard right here. Now, one thing we have to be careful with is this cable. This doesn't have like a protective little cap. Let me see if there's one floating around in here. Because if there is, I'm going to slide that guy on there. Just that. Now, so this will be one little bundle that we'll set up. And then this is all RGB. Just want to make sure these cables are not tangled around one another. We want this to be as easily maintainable as possible. And there we go. I'll grab my clippers. And there we go. RGB for the cooler is now all managed. If I wore it when I slept, Emily, it would, but I do not. I charge it at night. All right, so fans for the CPU cooler going to get routed back through the front. This cable is going to be a pain. So we want to put these into the CPU fan optional, which is right there. And now we need to make sure that gets pulled back through. And then this, we're going to go around the back of the cooler. Go out. So this has to come this way. There is a cable management hole over here somewhere. That's interesting. Why would that be blocked off like that? Why wouldn't they have something? I mean, there's a cable management grommet. Huh. Can I go up that way? I can. All right, so let's pull this back a little bit. Oh, it's gonna be hard to see, but up in this area, right in here, that's the cable management area I guess I'm shooting for. The one that I went in will not provide me the egress that I am looking for. We go that way. Now, there's the cable. Let's keep these guys out of the way. Put this back through the front. All right, now that cable's back through there. And as you can see, we're off to a pretty good cable management start. That is the whole cooler, all 8 wires coming off of this thing, managed and kept nice and neat and hidden. So, now that that's done, let's get this little group put together. This is all of the cables for this cooler, so you don't have to worry about having it anywhere else. It's just these guys. And we'll use We'll use a little bit of Velcro to hold it in place. Why not? These should go underneath. The way that these Velcro things work is you don't put it in the center of the Velcro. You lay the cables down and you put the Velcro over it. And then like that. So this one is wrong. And this would go. Let's do that. All right, now next we have these 3 fans on the back, plus the fan, the rear fan here. There is, I know, we have another system fan up here. So let's go ahead and put that cable into that system fan. I'll show you guys this because it's kind of a moot point. Should only take a second. That's in there now. We need to come up with a spot for these 3. We have 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're gonna go 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and that should be all of the fans on this, because this doesn't have like a dedicated controller. So let's take each of our fans and get them routed to where they're gonna go. So this is the first, this is the top fan. We're going to bring that out here. Here's our 2 bottom fans. So that's the front panel header. Here's our 2 bottom. This one is the other one. Yep. And we're going to come out of the bottom with these guys. And I guess as long as we're doing this, let's go ahead and do the rest of this routing. This is the HD audio connector, which is going to be over here. We have our USB 3 connector over there. And apparently we're now calling this USB 4. So we have our USB 4 connector over here. And then we have our front panel connector, which is going to go there. And now we should be able to flip this over. All of our cables are sticking through generally where they're going to go. So we start with this one. There's our USB-C, which I have to look into that, figure out why some people are calling that USB 4. I know there's Thunderbolt 4. Thank you, Emily. There is our one of our fans. Now this connector, which I thought was going to be up top, actually all the way down here. And we'll just go in. It's going to be a straight like that. And the cables out the bottom. Here's our HD audio. It's plugged in there. There's our front panel. NZXT doesn't do a lot right in my opinion, but they definitely do this right on all their cases. The front panel is just a single connector instead of just like a bunch of connectors. Get that there. And then our other 2 fans. One there. And then one there. So we're getting there. Getting there quickly. Oh, let's cable manage. Next, let's go ahead and add that thermal paste before I forget. And we have Corsair TM30. Interesting. I wonder where this even came from. We have a Thermalright cooler. We have an NZXT case. And remember, you can put too much thermal paste on a CPU. As long as you don't get it on the bottom, it's fine. Like, it's non-conductive. It is not going to hurt anything up top. You just want to make sure you have a nice flat, even coat on this thing. All right. Tighten this guy back down. I don't like the way that this cooler is actively held on here. It's not bad, it just does not feel secure. Alright, that's not going anywhere though. Next, memory. Get the memory installed. We got 32 gigs of Trident Z DDR4. Oh, DDR5. There is a point where it's too much, but it's very hard to get to that point. Alright, next. Let's go, everything's looking good here. Let's do our power supply. Sits right here. Make sure we got all the correct cables we're going to need. Fan facing outwards. So what do we got here? We have GPU. We have one CPU. Grab the other CPU. Get them both plugged in. It's got the spot for it. No reason not to use it. Unless this doesn't have... So this power supply only came with one. Here we go. Found it. CPU. So we got both. Also, you don't want the mess of it leaking out from under the spreader or under the rest of the stuff. It's just a pain to clean. Yeah. The little gum massage things work well. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Like, thankfully, thermal paste is non-conductive. So if it does leak out, you're not going to necessarily kill anything. There's our two CPU cables. Let's actually put them together on this thing. So that's pulling power off the same rail. That's going to go up there, and we'll cable manage that back. It's almost as if someone realized, you know, if we make this stuff even slightly conductive, we're going to have a huge problem. So I'm seeing a problem. We're going to get rid of this cable. The connector or the clip was bent on that one, so it would not clip into place. And this video card only requires a single, I believe this is a 4070 or a 3070? 4070. So it doesn't require the dual cable pin, so we're just going to use just a single cable for that. And then here's our 24 pin. It's going to go in there. 24 pin goes there. This is the PCIe. Also gonna actually, let's see if we can come up the bottom with the PCIe. And then this will go to the SATA. So now let's gently set this in place. Let's get the cables plugged in on the front. Start up top here. That's one. This cable is going to split in half. We're going to peel it back. That plugged in, that plugged in. .24 pin in. Oh, here's an interesting peel. Let's go ahead, slot our video card in. Make sure everything gets lined up. Get two screws going to it. And then we're going to put in one of the, you can see we got a slot here where my hand can just go. Try and get this actually lined up in here. Well, it might be a little hard to just realize this panel is bent. And we are down. One more screw. That is in. And then this cable. Just remembered. I need to plug this SATA cable into the correct location. I'm trying to get it right here. I'll try and hide it a little bit so it's directly behind the GPU. And here we go. Now, this power connector. Curious. I have this specific pathing that I like trying to use. But it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to use it on this. So, I guess we're just going to come straight off the front. And we're going to try and attach this cable over here so this stays in line. And that's all of our front cables. So now, let's organize. So this is for the SSD. There is absolutely nothing to attach this to over here to hold this in place. That is a missed opportunity. I'll just try and get it to do it naturally, maybe. That should be fine for that. And next we got this. This is frustrating to say the least. That cable fell apart the way it did, or the cable tie. Hey, what's going on, Carrion? Happy Monday. There is a little cable management path up here. Let's see if we can get these cables in here. It's gonna be tight, regardless. I don't know how much I like this. Get the Velcro done now, so let's pull these cables back. So these cable management grommets that are up here are partially okay. So a little bit awkward to use. No, it's not. You know what? I'll be perfectly honest. It's not too bad. I don't have a problem with them. And they're just the right width for the cables that I'm trying to manage. So don't look a gift horse in the eye. You can look in its mouth, just, you know, never in the eye. And there we go. And all we have left, here's our cable management. Everything's nice and secured. It goes like that. Goes like that. And we're not going to put crazy zip ties on this thing. All we want is this cable to not be as insanely long as it is. So we'll just do that. And this cable's just going to plug in there. And our SATA cable come underneath. Plug in there. Because this guy doesn't have any other SATA cables. So, that being said, the whole thing's going to change now. This is going to go over the top. Let's go through this. Yeah, that ain't going to work. Because this I don't have this back panel. But, I'll tell you right now, the cable is not going to work. Let's see. Here we go. We got a straight cable. I'm just remembering he has... There's another rack sitting around here somewhere. Is it up here? I don't think so. So, that creates an obnoxious problem of if we want a single power cable to handle both of these, which we do. Let's move this down. Move down over here. Because now we can have power. Use this power connector here to go to this right there. Now this other cable can come in right under here. All right, and then we need to get this SATA connector plugged in. under the GPU. All right, we're all good. That should be everything. So let's go ahead, and I was able to get this relatively lined up, so I'm actually okay with that. All right, let's see how she do. Hopefully, knock on wood, we don't have to flash this thing. Because that's gonna be, if we gotta flash it, it'll be a pain. But what are you gonna do? All right, first post. In 3. In 2. In 1. We actually have LED lights. Right now we're on DRAM. Sometimes these AMD systems can have a relatively long first post. We're also hoping that there was no damage done to this. Everything just VGA. And there we go. We'll go back into the BIOS, make sure everything is set up and configured. And this is 6,000 megahertz memory. It's reading 4800. And if I remember right, it was either 6 or 5. So a couple things we'll make sure we have turned on here. They are. 4800 is the default setting. Hoping it's just the mouse. You see how much that's jumping around? And there we go. It automatically detected it. We started, and we're going to reinstall Windows. Hey, thanks for watching that video. If you liked that video, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And I stream daily on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpecVengeance. And yeah, if you want to learn more about my services, check out Bradenton PC Repair.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.